Okay, here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, 1.
The thinking atheist. It's not a person. It's a symbol. An idea.
The population of atheists in this country is going through the roof.
Rejecting faith. Pursuing knowledge. Challenging the sacred.
If I tell the truth, it's because I tell the truth. Not because I put my hand on a book and made a wish.
And working together for a more rational world.
Take the risk of thinking for yourself. Much more happiness, truth, beauty, and wisdom will come to you that way.
Assume nothing. Question everything. And start thinking. This is the Thinking Atheist Podcast. Hosted by Seth Andrews.
Today we're talking about blue laws, also known as Sunday laws or Sunday closing laws. This happened in our not so recent past, and some of these laws remain on the books today. Here's the idea behind the blue law, okay? On the Lord's Day, which historically in this country at least has been considered Sunday, even though the Sabbath is actually Saturday, but okay, Sunday, the Lord's Day. Activities, certain specific things that you were doing, well, those were forbidden. And of course, this type of restriction usually roots back to religion, and oh, looky, there's Christianity in the United States. So why are they called blue laws? Well, we can't really pin it down, but it is suspected that back in New Haven, Connecticut, a long time ago, they had a specific list of Sabbath restrictions, and those restrictions were printed first on blue paper, so they were sort of known casually as the blue laws. That's a theory, we don't really know. Those Puritans back in the day, they apparently didn't think God could protect the Lord's Day, so they took it upon themselves to pass laws restricting what the public can do, and man, doesn't that sound familiar. A lot of retail stores were forced to keep their doors closed. Certainly, you couldn't gamble. You weren't supposed to drink. Travel was restricted in some places. They would tell you where you could and could not go or how far you could go. Clothing was monitored. You can wear these things during the week, but too much skin or it's too tapered, showing too much of your shape. Well, that's unholy, and the Lord's Day must be protected from shorts, I guess, and high skirts. By the way, and this is a quick digression, I'm guessing you've been reading about that guy in Monroe, North Carolina, Pastor Bobby Leonard, totally in the hot seat last month. He is this, 60, 70-year-old pastor of Bible Baptist Tabernacle, and he does a sermon, and he says that, you know what, I'm going to play it for you. It's just a short clip. Let me play you the clip of what he preached to his congregation.
I used to say this. I haven't said this in a long time. You ready? I said, if you dress like that and you get raped, and I'm on the jury, he's going to go free. You don't like, do you? I'm right, though. I can't help you don't like it. I'm right. Because, a man's a man.
This guy was preaching that, as women today, well, they are causing the erections of susceptible men in the faith. These temptresses may just have it coming. So, quote, if you dress like that and you get raped and I'm on the jury, he's going to go free because a man's a man. Oh, you can imagine the blowback on this. So he realizes that he's totally screwed up. I don't think he changed his mind. I think it's damage control. His solution was not to go and issue a personal and public apology to everybody on planet Earth for living in the year 11. His tactic was to put a message on the Bible Baptist Tabernacle marquee, the big church sign near the street. I am sorry for any hurt. I was wrong, Pastor Leonard. That was his idea of an apology. Any doubt this guy would have implemented a blue law against shorts on women? What else? Hunting was forbidden. Certain entertainment was certainly a no-no. You couldn't do amateur sports, professional sports, stage shows and movies and that kind of thing, right? Forbidden on the Lord's Day, which is weird to me. Shopping is therapeutic and for many restful. Sports, therapeutic and for many restful. Travel is for many therapeutic, restful, and yet God does not want this done Sundays? Now, some of the blue laws applying to Sunday apparently were not rooted in religion. Back then, they were running the mail 7 days a week, so blue laws shut that down on Sunday to give them a break, to get the mailman and mailwoman a day off. Some businesses were working their employees every freaking day of the week, giving them not a break. So a blue law would mandate they get at least Sunday off, give them a day of rest. And that may be one of the reasons that, at least back in the day, labor unions and trade unions were big supporters of blue laws, even though most of those laws have been repealed today. But not all blue laws. And they're not all limited to what you can and can't do on a Sunday. Living quietly in our books, still active in 2024, are a bunch of old world, old school regulations that theoretically could be enforced. You could be fined or jailed if somebody out there took them seriously. And that's what today's show is. Now, if we're going to talk about them, let's get back to the genesis of the blue law, which apparently takes us back to Constantine. Back in 321 CE, the Emperor Constantine wrote these words, quote, "On the venerable day of the sun, let the magistrates and people residing in cities rest, and let all workshops be closed." Now, I think it's interesting because in his decree, he says the venerable day of the sun. It's S-U-N, the day of the sun, not the Son of God, S-O-N. Remember, after the ancient Babylonians started using the 7-day week, the days of the week were named after gods, and Sunday was named after the pagan sun god. And that stuck. So Constantine was referring to a god that wasn't a god. He's now breaking the first commandment in the book of Exodus in the Christian Bible. What are the other gods in the week? Monday is the moon's day. Tuesday, we know Wednesday is Woden or Odin's day. Thursday is Thor's day. Friday, I can't remember. Saturday is for Saturn, right? You get it. The days of the week referring to the names of non-Christian gods. And in this, Christians find no irony. That's just awesome. Okay, the earliest blue laws in this country were enacted by the General Assembly of Virginia in the Jamestown colony of 1619. There were 70 specific blue laws. Morning and afternoon worship, church, was mandatory for everybody. You had to go every single Sunday. Remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. In the United States in the 19th century, in some places, if you went to work, you could have been arrested. Back in 1961, there was a Maryland department store, and they decided they were going to leave the doors open on Sunday. Open for business. Everybody is welcome. And the state of Maryland fined the employees. So these employees of the store sued the state of Maryland, and the Supreme Court declared that states could do whatever they wanted. So as there are requirements for things like public health and safety and welfare, morality, and even mandated leisure time, these fall under that umbrella. The Chief Justice at the time, Earl Warren, said that these reasonings weren't religious, they were just good sense. So Fine people all you want, Maryland. You know what's better for people than people do. It's no surprise that a whole lot of states still prohibit liquor stores from opening their doors on Sundays. Now, it's funny because somebody on my tennis team owns a liquor store, and I ask about the Sunday blue law thing, and she's like, regardless of where it came from, I'm thankful that I get a day off. So maybe that falls back into the worker protection category. I don't know. Of course, now we've got alcohol in grocery stores. So you only have to drive past the liquor store. You can go to the grocery store. Oh, look, there it is on the shelf. 21 states allow grocery stores to sell the hard stuff and not just beer and wine. What about happy hour? Those anticipated times when you get a discounted drink at the end of the long workday. It's still not legal on the books. In Alaska, Indiana, Massachusetts, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Rhode Island, Utah, Vermont, happy hour is against the law. Of course, the restaurants have happy hour anyway, and I would love to see a census of how many Christians are knocking back a few beers after the day is done. The state of Massachusetts and Alaska prohibit the sale of alcohol on election days. And the reason is that often they would take the saloon because everybody knew where it was, and it was, I guess, built to accommodate voting. The saloon would become the poll place or the voting booth, and I guess they didn't want people getting wasted and then going to check a box. As soon as the polls closed, the bar was open. Utah has a law on the books prohibiting the sale of those mini bottles. Unless you're in a hotel or on a plane, illegal to drink out of the minis. I guess if you're looking for the most liberated state when it comes to liquor, you would want to go to Nevada. You can buy alcohol 24/7 in the state of Nevada, and the bars don't have to close at 2 a.m. And the list for booze goes on and on. How much alcohol you can have and which drinks. Can you put food on the shelves next to the wine bottles? Are you allowed to transport liquor over state lines to have it or to sell it? There are regulations on drinking games. By the way, there are some counties in the state of Florida right now that don't just prohibit the sale of alcohol on Sundays. You are forbidden by law to buy sex toys. It's on the books. No strap-ons and honey dust for you on the Lord's Day. Give it a few hours. When you wake up Monday, you can roll in there at, 10 a.m. and you can pick up that body stocking that you wanted to wear to the orgy. Okay, that's Monday, not Sunday. You can't do it. Okay, we've done plenty about liquor, but I want to get into the weird stuff, like really weird. The stuff where you scratch your head and go, what's the context? What happened to make someone think we need to make an ordinance preventing this in the future? Because the Lord. I'm going to take a break and come back and do a laundry list of bizarre blue laws still on the books. We'll do it next. I am hitting the road and doing a presentation called Seth Andrews versus God. Who is the better intelligent designer? It's a fun one. Orlando, Kansas City, Los Angeles, Little Rock, Denver, Sarnia, Ontario, Lexington, Kentucky, St. Louis, Houston, Dallas. A lot of stuff coming up. SethAndrews.com/events. We continue talking about blue laws, these strange morality clauses that somehow got overlooked and are still out there on the books today, and I guess theoretically enforceable. Let me start with Texas Penal Code, Section 4802. It is illegal to sell your internal organs. Your eyes, your kidneys, liver, lungs, skin, whatever. You are allowed to sell your blood and hair, but not the other stuff. This is a Class A misdemeanor, and it also applies to anybody who wants to buy your internal organs. I've been trying to figure this one out. Are you preparing for death? Like after I die, you can have my stuff because I won't need it? Or is it just desperation? I can't pay the water bill. Here, would you like a kidney? I don't know. I can't find the context for that law in Texas. Here's another one from that same state. This one harkens back to the Dust Bowl. It is illegal to shoot buffalo from the second-story room of a hotel. Was that a problem? Also in Texas, did you know it's illegal to drive a car that doesn't have windshield wipers installed? Ironically, there is no law requiring your car to have a windshield. So I don't understand. If you have wipers but no shield, I don't get that one. This one's in a county in Washington. I hope I'm saying it right. Skamania County. 1969, there was an ordinance passed making it illegal to kill Bigfoot. Well, I wouldn't want people to kill Bigfoot anyway. Sure, legitimate zoological science says that they don't exist, but you and I know better. You and I know they're out there, and if you stumble upon a Sasquatch, it's illegal to kill it, so don't. The Tennessee Constitution has a provision that says you are prevented from holding any public office if you've ever been in a duel. Like a duel, swords at dawn, pistols at dawn, that kind of thing. Instant disqualification from politics. Here's one that was just only 7 years ago repealed in South Carolina. If a man seduced a woman who was not married, and he seduced her by saying that he would eventually marry her, but he didn't have any intention to make her his wife, he could be arrested for lying to the woman. Same state, South Carolina, Title 63 of the Juvenile Justice Code. It's unlawful for anybody under the age of 18 to play pinball. I did a true story episode on this on my second podcast, where off and on in various places throughout the 20th century, pinball was blamed for the downfall of today's youth. It's a distraction. Some called it gambling. Mayor LaGuardia in New York, he did like a decades-long war on pinball. It was like the satanic panic with pinball. And that wasn't repealed in New York until the 1970s. Apparently, the selling of babies used to be a problem in Pennsylvania. Article D, Subchapter A, Section 4305 says if you buy a baby or you sell a baby, it's a misdemeanor. It's a misdemeanor and not a felony? How valuable is the baby? Who set the penalty for that? Somebody who didn't like babies, I'm guessing. If Yamhill, Oregon is serious about anything, it's apparently really serious about keeping fortune tellers out of their God-fearing town. It is illegal to practice any occult arts. And that is defined like this: fortune-telling, astrology, palmistry, clairvoyance, mesmerism, spiritualism, and more. These are listed under the general offenses page on the government website. There's a blue law in New York. It made it illegal to walk around in public with a mask on unless you're doing a party. And I actually kind of agree with this one. But it was first passed in 1845, likely because of the Ku Klux Klan. The KKK wearing masks and hoods, but political protesters wear masks in public today. We've seen the white supremacists and other awful people who are hiding their identities in public under masks. So they, at least in New York, are breaking the law. Not sure about the policies of other states. Here's another one that I totally, truly support. This one came out in 1911 in New Mexico. You are allowed to vote in elections in New Mexico if you've lived there for over 1 year, if you're not a felon, and if you are not an idiot. The original language said idiot. This was amended back in 2010 for obvious reasons. And to be fair, the law was referring to people who had cognitive disabilities. They call them insane persons or idiots. But I think we should add the language back in, not for those cognitively impaired, but I mean just for idiots. Just idiots. We're not talking about mental health. I'm talking about people who constantly and unnecessarily do stupid shit and complicate things for the rest of us. I think we should just lock them out of the voting booth, which at this point in the United States, we may be talking about tens and tens of millions of people. I'm just fantasizing. The guy who says that women wearing shorts ought to be raped, or at least the rapist should get off scot-free. No, I don't want that guy in the voting booth. Thank you very much. Maybe you and I should get together and we just write some idiot laws. Don't you? Let's just write idiot laws. Oh, somebody's swerving on the road. They're texting while driving. Lock them up. People who have decided that apparently nobody ever has to get off of an elevator. So after they hit the button and they're waiting, they just stand right there blocking the door. Oh, yeah. That's an idiot law that needs to be written. If you're doing dumb stuff on TikTok just to get views and hits and maybe become an influencer. Hey, Ricky, this'll get us noticed. I'll bend over, you stick a bottle rocket up my ass and light the fuse. Make sure you're shooting vertical. Shoot that video vertical. Gonna get famous. Oh, yeah. There should be some sort of penalty for these people. Punish the stupid. I think maybe the only way we defeat stupid. And maybe not even then. Maybe we're just stuck with it. And speaking of fireworks, those people who apparently have leftover fireworks from the holidays, and so they just decide, just for kicks at a party, or they're just hanging out on the back porch enjoying a beer, let's set off some mortars after 10:30 p.m. on a weeknight. That'll be fun. We're lying in bed, all of a sudden, boom, the dogs flip out and start shaking. Oh, hey, at least you were amused. Yeah. Idiot ordinance enforceable, I think. Flat earthers, I think we should just build a camp for them. Just put them in a camp. Escape from New York, right? Just build the wall, toss them over the wall. They can do all the flat earthy stuff they want to do, and the rest of us can evolve as a species. If you invest in crypto, I know the crypto bros are going to come after. If you are investing in crypto, well, actually, I wouldn't make that a law. I'll just let them lose all their money. Like if you're going to invest in crypto, if you think crypto is survivable, okay, knock yourself. That'll just be sort of a self-penalizing action. Jefferson, Missouri. This is back to a few that are actually on the books. Jefferson, Missouri. Did you know it's illegal to have more than 2 garage sales at your house in 1 year? You can only have 1 garage sale a year. Until 2015 in the state of Minnesota, just 2 days of weekly bingo were allowed in nursing homes and retirement homes. You can only do bingo 2 days a week? Where did this law come from? Those parties must have been getting wild, right? I mean, what are they doing at bingo that somebody had to write an ordinance? Still on the books today, it's illegal to tease a skunk in the state of Minnesota. You can't eat a hamburger on a Sunday in St. Cloud. In Duluth, no animal is allowed to sleep in a bakery. Here's one that has to be a free speech violation. Massachusetts Statute Chapter 264, Section 9 says, if you screw up singing or playing the national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner, you change the words, you forget the words, you alter the notes, you don't do it right, $100 fine. Here's some refreshing good sense out of the state of Kentucky. It's against the law to use a snake in a church service. By the way, there are snake-handling churches throughout the state of Kentucky, and not just there, Virginia, Tennessee, and elsewhere. And if you don't know what the snake-handling churches are, there is a verse in the Bible. You know what? Let me look it up. They shall drink poison and not die. Verse. Mark 16, chapter 18 is talking about people of faith who are able to do extraordinary things because God has protected them. The verse says, they will pick up snakes with their hands, and when they drink deadly poison, it will not hurt them at all. And in southern Bible Belt states, there are some backwater podunk churches where these dumbass pastors and their congregants think that God wants them to go out and find venomous snakes, and they mistreat these poor animals, and they bring them into the church service, and they're dancing and playing the tambourine, and they're throwing the snakes around and hanging them around their neck, and they're holding them above, and they're doing all these things to show, I ain't as scared of no snake. And of course, at regular intervals, people are killed at snake handling churches. I wrote a chapter in my book, Sacred Cows, about the whole snake handling church culture with a laundry list of people who were bitten by a venomous snake, refused medical attention because Jesus, and died. That's just a gene pool thing, isn't it? We're just thinning the herd at that point. I'm not trying to be too dismissive, but I'm sorry. I have a hard time having sympathy for those people. I just do. In the state of Delaware, you're out of luck if you walk into a pawn shop and try to sell your artificial limb. No outdoor sofas are allowed in the neighborhood of University Hill, Boulder, Colorado. Apparently, people kept putting their couches like an indoor recliner kind of thing. They do put them outside and then just chill outdoors. And the whole place started to look like a big flea market. So they passed a law. Mobile, Alabama outlawed silly string. Now, at first, I did laugh at this one. Silly string, you've seen it. Google it if you don't know what silly string is. But I bet that this is about wildlife, right? It's almost like you can't throw rice at the bride and groom after a wedding because the birds would eat the rice and then it would expand in their stomachs and kill the animals. I'm guessing this is probably an animal safety issue. Confetti is also prohibited in Mobile, Alabama, and elsewhere. Okay, the whole last segment of the show is about American law and the nipple. We're going to do it next. Hang on. In my book, Christianity Made Me Talk Like an Idiot, I have this hypothetical scenario where somebody like you or me, we are talking to a Puritan religious person, and we ask basic questions. And these are questions that few people seem to have asked themselves. So we're like, well, can a man go out topless in public? You mean shirtless? Yes, I mean shirtless. Can a man go out shirtless? Well, yes. Yeah. What about a woman? Can she go out topless or shirtless? Absolutely not. Why not? It's obscene. It's inappropriate. Well, where did that come from? Why is it inappropriate for the female? Well, she's got breasts. Okay, so wait a minute. Let's say that I was maybe a little heavy or, something unique to my body. Let's say that I had pronounced breasts as a man. Let's say I had man boobs. I have moobs. If I go out in public, then is it obscene? Well, no, it's not obscene. You're a man. Yes, but I have boobs. No, it's different. Well, why is it different? Well, it's just different. It's different. I noticed that women can show some of the breast in public on G-rated television or whatever. I mean, they show some. Well, you can show a little bit of it, but you can't show too much. Yeah. Well, how much is too much? Well, too much. You can't show too much. Well, how much is that? I don't know. You just know it when you see it. But you can't show the nipple. Okay, so it's obscene or immoral to show the nipple. Yes. Why is that obscene? Well, men will see it and lust. All right, hang on. So they won't necessarily lust if they see another part of the breast. Say it's this particular region. Well, yeah. Okay. Well, what if, and this is assuming a heterosexual attraction, what if a man is turned on by the top part of the woman's breast that is allowed, which sort of spurs the imagination or whatever? Maybe they just get turned on by maybe the neckline. What about that? Should that be covered? No. What about her eyes? If he finds her eyes enchanting and he becomes aroused, or what if it's legs? I don't know. Let's just pick a body part. I'm not trying to be base here, but I'm trying to make a point. Like, what if a G-rated or allowed part of the female is what gets him going? What do you do there? Well, you can't cover, the neck, and that's extreme. Well, hang on. That's causing lust, isn't it? Wasn't that your guideline? And back to the whole sexual identity thing. Can a woman show her breast or be topless in a locker room or, in a dressing room surrounded by other women? Well, I guess that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. Well, what if women are in the room who are attracted to women? Would that not cause lust? Well, no, that's not right. That's not right. That's not right. You can't, there's, no. And so they're starting to vibrate, because they've never been before. Who came up with these laws? Who wrote the obscenity laws that targeted women in this way? If I was to go into Photoshop and I pasted the male nipple over the female nipple, and then I posted that photograph online or whatever, would that be okay? Or is that still obscene? Because it's a man's nipple, and those are allowed, are they not? And finally, even though we know the Bible talks about modesty and it hyper-targets women because a bunch of puritanical, thin-skinned, apparently highly erect males wrote the Bible, and they wanted to control women, can you show me the verse in the Bible where it outlines which part of the body can be exposed and which cannot be exposed? And then these people just sort of leave. They get frustrated and walk out of the room. Well, it's something I never thought about. I just assumed it growing up. They're not modestly dressed. And it was always leaning heavily toward the female because, of course, women are the harlots and the Jezebels and the sirens and the temptresses, and they control how men feel or react. Okay? That's really the thinking. It was a form of almost Islamic hijab covering of women. The women must be covered. Preserve the mystery. More skin equals more sin. Okay. Well, I was trying to kind of find out where all of this nipple hysteria started, at least in the United States. I found this article on Yahoo Health. It says, if you ever want to feel like you're back in the dark ages of female equality, look no further than the law books of certain U.S. states. In Arizona, A woman can be arrested for indecent exposure if she exposes the areola or nipple of her breast if someone else is present. Hiking in the forest in the nude is not a violation of the law in Los Angeles, but a woman who exposes her, quote, private parts to another person can be found guilty of a misdemeanor for public indecency. Delaware women can be arrested if they expose their breasts, quote, under circumstances that she knows her conduct will likely cause affront or alarm. By the way, quick digression. I'm trying to think of what the law is, at least in the state of Oklahoma, but talk about blue laws. The woman cannot, apparently at like a strip club or something, the woman cannot show the nipple unless it has a pasty on it. Now, the pasty is totally transparent. It's so if the women have to paste that over the nipple, you still see the nipple, but it has a little transparent plastic sticky pasty on it, and apparently that makes it okay. In Oklahoma, you cannot serve alcohol in a bar where women are fully nude. So if they have a bottom of some, they're wearing the bottom, but they're topless, there you can serve beer and all that other stuff. But if they're totally naked, no alcohol can be served. All right. So we have morality. We have standards here in Oklahoma, damn it. Back to the article. Louisiana specifies that female breast nipples in any public place or a place open to the public view with the intent of arousing sexual desire or which appeals to prurient interest or is patently offensive can get 3 years of jail time and a $2,500 fine. God, I got to stop again. Hang on. Obscenity laws are some of the most ill-defined and subjective laws ever implemented anywhere. Because how do you define lewd? How do you define indecent? And the idea is, in this country, the laws were written to prevent arousal in the most susceptible members of our society. So you have to present yourself in public in a way that isn't going to turn on the person who might most easily be turned on. How in the world do you even qualify and certainly enforce this? Obscenity comes from the Latin word obscenus, meaning foul, repulsive, detestable. It's also linked back to another word, define filth. And then we get into the discussions about whether or not it's just, base level lewd nudity, or is it artistic nudity? The artist paints the lovely shape of a body. That's artistic. That's allowable in polite society, not like this. These laws differ depending on which state line you have driven over. So something that's obscene here is not obscene there. Totally subjective. What is obscene? Back to the article. These are just some of the many instances of legal gender inequality that compelled Lena Esco to write, direct, star, and produce her film Free the Nipple. She says, the first thing a child sees when it is born, the first thing it connects with, the first thing that nourishes it is a nipple. It's a boob, claims Esco when discussing the origins of her film and movement. The film is billed as a comedy, but perhaps best described as an activist how-to guide. It tells the story of a group of young women who engage in public demonstrations of toplessness to call attention to the fact that not only do women continue to be arrested for toplessness, despite its being legal in New York, but that women's bodies are subjected to different standards and rules than men. By the way, this was a movie shot without permits. They just went out with cameras in public and went topless and sort of shot reactions. But it was actually illegal this is just me talking now, it was actually illegal until the 1930s for either men or women to show nipples in public. So men were at one time included in the ban. Men were not happy about this, and so they protested. Back on Coney Island, they went out and did a demonstration shirtless to say, you can't regulate my nipples. 1935, there were some male protesters in Atlantic City. They went to the beach shirtless. They got arrested. In 1936, they legally got the right to show nipples in public in the state of New York, laying the foundation eventually for the same liberation for women, except that it's not. Women can still be charged with public indecency, disturbing the peace, or lewd behavior, where toplessness is legal on the books. It's a kind of implied or social blue law. Double standards, no question. There's a famous 1962 movie called Something's Got to Give, starring Marilyn Monroe. Did you know that for that film, she was required to cover her belly button? Meanwhile, the rest of the world is looking at us like we are 12-year-old boys in a locker room, going, boobies, right? Other cultures, people, regions around the world, historically, women have gone topless, unless it's wintertime and they need to cover up for warmth. Other than that, jewelry or something, but they're topless. We've seen that in India, in many parts of Africa, the South Pacific. It used to be that you saw almost everybody topless everywhere until what happened? Christian missionaries showed up. Because, these poor, rudderless, miserable, sad primitives sure need them some Jesus. Lucky them, we have arrived. And when they get in and pretty much colonize and impose their own morality blue laws, more and more people felt compelled to cover up. And don't even get me started on Europe. They're not weird about nudity at all. It's the human body. Get over it. Grow up. Everyday life, film, television, whatever. Same goes with language, too. Here we are censoring. We are blue lawing the words everybody knows that you are saying. Everybody knows what you have bleeped out or overdubbed. There is no doubt this is the F word or whatever. And look, I just censored myself. The F word. It's the F word. It's like when I was a Christian in Christian school, we used to just stretch, not to cuss, but we wanted to cuss. So we came up with you should have heard the shit that people said. Son of a biscuit eater. Of course, we had to say darn instead of damn, but everybody knew we were saying damn. Gosh darn instead of god damn. Uh-oh. Third commandment, gosh darn is okay. Whew. Didn't say hell, but we said heck. Oh, fudge. Instead of shit, we said shucks. People actually said shucks. I knew somebody, and he got this from Rush Limbaugh, but instead of saying BS for bullshit, he said Barbra Streisand. That's just a bunch of Barbra Streisand, right? God bless America. That was considered an exclamation substitute for swear. God bless America. Oh, did we know that we were walking, talking punchlines? We did not. Back to the nipple, because I have it in the title of the show, and I guess I need to make sure there's plenty of nipple talk in the show. Back to the nipple. There's a big battle going on social media. Meta, meaning Facebook and Instagram, they are being petitioned to just freaking loosen up. A decade ago, breastfeeding mothers protested, and they went to Facebook headquarters and did what they called a nurse-in. breastfeeding right there at the entrance of Facebook, saying, why don't you guys just stop censoring and penalizing and striking all of the posts that have naked female bodies, especially from the waist up? Get over yourselves. It's the body. There's an oversight board for Meta. Apparently, they have been making recommendations that Meta change its policy, quote, so it is governed by clear criteria that respect international human rights standards. There's another subjective and extremely nebulous definition. And before the Free the Nipple people, before the nurse in, about 20 years ago, there was another group doing the same thing, trying to kill these blue laws. They called themselves lactivists. Anyway, I guess the short version of this long discussion is that, once again, the United States is late to the party, but we might eventually arrive at the party if the Puritans who are running local government, state government, federal government, the Supreme Court, and the White House don't insist that we continue to live in the dark ages. It's astounding how often the people who call the shots and make the laws stand in contrast and contradiction to the attitudes and will of the general public. More and more, we're less Puritan, more egalitarian, we're less weird about the body and about sexuality. I mean, gradually, we are evolving here at the grassroots level, while the people who supposedly represent us, they've got a big warehouse filled with chastity belts, and they would like to go door to door and distribute those to everybody and make them mandatory. I'd be curious to see how the culture looks in the years and decades ahead. We can take some lessons, I think, from other parts of the world who've just gotten over it. You know, let's celebrate ourselves and let's just quit freaking out. Let's realize how much of these blue laws are rooted in obsolete, wrong-headed, conspiratorial, superstitious, patriarchal, terrified mythologies. Anyway, that's just a quick look at Puritan America. Laws enforced just a few short decades ago, and apparently either somebody forgot to just erase them or vote against them, or maybe secretly they yearn for the day when it was illegal to drunk ski, to drink from a mini bottle, to sell your artificial leg, and to drive your windowless vehicle without wipers. Maybe they yearn for those days. I do not know. Thanks for being here. I will see you next week.
Follow The Thinking Atheist on Facebook and Twitter for a complete archive of podcasts and videos, products like mugs and t-shirts featuring the Thinking Atheist logo, links to atheist pages and resources, and details on upcoming free thought events and conventions. Log on to our website, thethinkingatheist.com.